What is up, guys? Lonehawk here today, and welcome back to Planetside 2. In today's video, we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. One thing I've seen a lot on the subreddit lately, and in-game, has been comments over whether or not the VS are overpowered. So we're going to be covering that topic in question form today as I try to answer the question, are the VS overpowered? So before we discuss whether or not the VS are overpowered, we need to make sure we have a constant definition of what overpowered means. Quite simply, something is overpowered if it can be compared to something that is considered normal, neither overpowered nor underpowered, and it is significantly better in almost every aspect, leaving players no reason to use anything else. Now that we have that definition out of the way, we need to find a way to compare the Vanu sovereignty to the other two factions in Planetside 2 effectively. To do this, we're going to have to split up the VS into multiple different aspects that some players think are overpowered. First, we'll talk about the VS Heavy Assault. The two things that come up most when I talk about VS Heavy Assault are the fact that they have 0.75x multipliers on their LMGs and that they have the Lancer. As far as the LMGs go, I'm not going to lie. The Orion and the SVA-88 are two of my favorites to use and two of the best in the game. But are they overpowered? Well, to be honest, it doesn't really matter. Even if the SVA-88 and or the Orion were considered overpowered, would it really make all of the VS overpowered? I really don't think so. Personally, I think it's actually the meta that makes VS LMGs look overpowered. In this situation, I think the meta has created a snowball effect. The meta, the community, has overhyped the Orion to the point where everybody uses it, and it seems overpowered because of it. Now, it's definitely good. I mean, nobody's arguing that the Orion is bad. It's definitely one of the best, if not the best LMG in the game, but is it significantly better than every other LMG to the point where it's overpowered? Well, I honestly don't think so. I like to compare this to the MSWR. There are so many situations where I would perform better with the MSWR. In fact, I think I'm better with the MSWR in general. That may just be me, but that is another very good gun. And nobody's complaining about that being overpowered because it hasn't been hyped up by the community, by the meta. Long story short, I don't think the Orion is overpowered. I think it's very good, but I don't think it's significantly better than some of the other top tier LMGs in the game. Now let's talk about the other aspect of VS Heavy Assaults I've mentioned, and that is the Lancer. Once again, I'll probably get a lot of hate for this, but I don't think the Lancer is overpowered. I think the Lancer is where Empire-specific launchers should be, and I think the other two, the Phoenix and the Striker, are just underpowered. I mean, let's look at the Phoenix. The Phoenix can take out ESFs that are still, I guess. I mean, it can do some things. The Striker is borderline useless. I don't know what you'd use that thing for. Maybe as a joke. Maybe try to Araxium it and be like the first person to ever do it after it was nerfed. I'm not sure. I really think those two weapons need a buff, and I think the Lancer is where Empire-specific launchers should be at. This all being said, I do think VS have the best heavy assaults, but not because they're overpowered. I think the TR and the NC Empire-specific launchers are severely lacking, which hurts them a little bit, and the Orion is an extremely easy-to-use gun, which makes lots of VS players, even the new VS players, good at playing heavy assault. Now let's move on to another aspect of the VS that a lot of players seem to think is overpowered, and that is the Mag Rider. Now, I'm not too much of a vehicle guy, so if any of this comes off as completely wrong or ridiculous, be sure to call me out down below. But as an infantry player and someone who occasionally plays in an MBT, I think the tank we should be worried about as is overpowered is not the Mag Rider, but the Vanguard. I mean, for real guys, the Vanguard kills me more than any other tank, even when I'm playing as NC. So like I said, I hope I'm not wrong in saying that. I think the Mag Rider is very good. I think the Vanguard is also very good. I'm personally not a fan of the Prowler, but I can't say it's underpowered because I haven't used it enough. But I'm just here to say that the Vanguard kills me more than any other MBT, so I don't think the VS is overpowered in the MBT aspect. So what's next? I guess we'll talk about maxes now. A lot of people complain about the blue shifts and skinny max hitboxes for the VS. And once again, I have to say, are you kidding me, guys? You're complaining about VS maxes? We should once again be complaining about the NC in this situations. I mean, would you rather have blue shifts or the Ravens? Would you rather have a skinny hitbox or shotguns that completely destroy people up close, which is where most of the fights partake in this game? I don't know. I definitely think we shouldn't be complaining about VS maxes. I don't think they're overpowered at all. I think they're quite well balanced, actually. I think that's, once again, I think VS is in a situation where they are where I think all of the factions should be as far as their maxes go. And, if any max is overpowered, it's the NC max, or even like lockdown pounders for TR, but I mean, that's okay because we have no long-range anti-vehicle weapon. Now, I know I made the comparison between the Blue Shift and the Ravens. I know the Blue Shift is anti-infantry, and I know the Raven is anti-vehicle, but the Raven is so overpowered that I don't think we can really be complaining about the Blue Shifts at this point. I don't think they're overpowered. I think they're very good. I think TR weapons could be buffed to be, a little bit closer to that point on maxes, but once again, don't think they're overpowered. Next on this very long list of things that people think are overpowered on the VS is the Cythe, and more specifically, the Cythe profile. There are a lot of people that complain that when you're fighting a Cythe head-on, it's just too skinny to hit, and it's very hard to win fights that way. Once again, I'd like to remind you that I'm not a vehicle guy, so all the information I'm telling you right now is from other pilots I've met in-game and on the subreddit because, like I said, I'm not a vehicle guy, and when it comes to flight, I cannot fly for crap in this game. So this is all from other people that I've spoken with. The one thing I heard from a lot of ESF pilots is that every ESF has its own strengths and weaknesses. Every pilot will favor a different ESF and a different weapon for it, and so it's hard to get a general consensus as to which ESF is the best. Now, the Cythe definitely has a big strength in that it's very skinny when you face it straight on. Head on, it's very hard to see the Cythe. It's very flat. It's hard to shoot at. But, I mean, if you look at it from the top or the bottom, it's extremely wide, which I think is one of its weak points because easier to shoot at from the ground. It's easier to hit if you're coming from above or below. And so I think it kind of balances out, or so I've been told. If that's wrong, once again, be sure to call me out in the comments. I'm not very knowledgeable in the subject. But as far as the Cythe goes, I don't think it's OP. I think each ESF has its own strengths and weaknesses, and the Cythe just happens to have a very good strength. Now, with that out of the way, let's move back to a topic I can speak to personally because I play infantry a lot, and that is no bullet drop on most VS weapons. This is one thing I can say for sure is definitely not overpowered. I mean, on paper, it sounds pretty good, no bullet drop makes it easier to hit your targets, right? And I think that makes a lot of new players immediately think VS is overpowered, but to be honest, a lot of the fights in Planetside take place at close to medium range engagements. In fact, whenever you're taking a point, that point is small. If you're sitting on the A point, you need something that's close range. So, I mean, bullet drop isn't going to even affect you there, and even at ranges where it is, it's laughably easy to control bullet drop, and most of the time you don't even have to. At most engagements, you can just aim for the head, and the worst case scenario is you hit them in the chest, and it takes you 0.2 seconds longer to kill your target. I mean, at some long ranges, actually there are a lot of fights at long ranges, but at those ranges, you're not going to be using those types of weapons. You're going to want snipers, or you're going to want to flank and get up close. So the weapons with no bullet drop are the weapons that aren't really affected by bullet drop that much, and it's not really that much of an advantage over the other two factions. Now, that's pretty much it for the big things that I noticed. Some smaller things, I guess. Default camo for VS, I've heard complained about. I'm pretty sure that's a joke. I mean, I guess their default camo is darker than the others, which is nice, but I mean, it's just a camo, guys. It doesn't really change the game that much. I guess Empire-specific weapons, we already talked about the Lancer. I guess the Lasher. The Lasher is cool because it does something that no other weapon can do. Like, when you talk about the Jackhammer, it's just another shotgun. It does what other shotguns can do, albeit better. It's just another shotgun. Same with the chain gun. Mini chain gun is just another LMG. You put bullets down range. I mean, it's not even a good LMG, in my opinion. And the Lasher is actually one thing I think that actually makes VS good because it does something that no other gun in the game can do. It shoots at a high fire rate. It shoots explosive orbs that are great for suppressing a person when there's actually no suppression system implemented in the game. Not to mention that if you have the high ground, the Lasher is amazing for shooting down behind cover or at even someone that's not behind cover. I mean, the Lasher is a very good gun, and I'm surprised it doesn't actually get complained about more often because, I know when I use a Lasher, I go ham with the thing. When the situation is right, the Lasher is amazing, and I never have seen a complaint about it. Yet, when I get one kill with the Orion, I get a slash tell telling me how I'm a shitter and I should just quit Planetside because I'm only using the good guns in the game and I'm being unfair. So if you couldn't tell already, I don't think the VS is overpowered, and the response I normally get to that is, well, then how come VS always win alerts? How come they just have the best statistics around? And, well, they win alerts because they have a lot of population. I mean, the lore behind VS is, I think, some of the strongest. Personally, I like the TR lore the best, which is why I play as TR. But I think a lot of players love the whole alien aspect, and so they just get more pop than other factions, which is why I think the VS get the most complaining about being overpowered, because there's so many of them that they always win alerts, and it makes them look OP. And I actually think we have a little bit of a vicious cycle going on here, where everyone thinks VS is the best, so all of the better players move to VS because they want to be the best they can possibly be, and when all of those better players are on VS, they perform better than the players on the other factions, and it makes VS seem overpowered again, which makes more players go. And so I guess the more VS seems overpowered, the more it becomes overpowered just because that's where the better players are going. Other than that, guys, I think that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below and maybe subscribe. If you have some counterpoints, be sure to leave those down below. Go do that right now. I love hearing counterpoints because, you know, it opens up my mind to things I haven't thought about before. So maybe the VS is overpowered in your opinion, and you have some good ways to defend that. Then tell me those ways. I'd love to hear them, and if I get enough, I guess I can make a follow-up video as to why VS is overpowered, I guess, if you convince me of it. But right now, I don't think they are, and I don't think a lot of players think they are, so I don't think I'll be getting that much backlash. If I do, well, I mean, I guess that's part of being a YouTuber. Like I said, hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Lone Hawk, out.